Hey, welcome back to Listen Lissa. I'm your host, Alyssa. So on the last episode, we got to dive into what situationships are a little bit more, how to recognize them, and why, even when you are aware that you are in one, the overall trend that is going on right now where it's becoming more of the norm to be in a situationship than it is to be in a committed long-term relationship. And that is shifting in our society over time more and more. And it is bound to have a pretty negative impact on society as a whole, not just the people that are involved in it, which it also hurts. Now, everybody pretty much agrees across the board that someone who leads someone into a situationship under false pretenses, whether they outright lie or they kind of play the role as though they're looking for the same thing, a committed relationship, but as time goes on and they get what they really wanted, they kind of switch it up and then they kind of say,
well, I never promised you anything.
Or they play that little game, whichever way it is. I want to say that it's a lot more than just selfish. I don't think the words selfish and arrogant and things like that really cover quite the depth of how messed up that is. Messed up doesn't cover it. And I'm going to take more of a hot take on this, which some may deem as dramatic, but I do not think it is. I think it's very accurate. And that is to say that when situationships are developed in that manner, that is predatory. That's a word with a heavy connotation. That's a word with a lot of negative, heavy implications. And for good reason. Let's go over the definition of what predatory actually means. So, predatory describes a behavior that seeks to exploit another person or group through deception, coercion, manipulation, or abuse of power. It implies an intentional advantage taking, where the target lacks full, free, and informed choice. So this means that something is imposed upon the victim that had they known the full information of the situation that the other person, the predatory individual, knows, they would have not made the same choices and gone along with the same actions as they did. In that situation, that is predatory. The person who is seeking something from that other person is doing so in a way that hides certain information that they are hiding because they want to get that outcome without getting it the right way. They want to get it by exploiting another person through deception. In situationships, it's going to typically be the route of deception. And that's what makes it fall under predatory behavior. Okay. So in this episode, I'm going to unpack how people get caught up into these predatory situationships, as well as just go over some of the research, some straight up facts, give you some knowledge that will help you to validate who exactly should be taking the responsibility in situations like this, who owns the blame. And I always think that information is power. Facts are power. When you can accept something at face value for the cold hard facts of the situation, you can dive deeper into the knowledge. The more that you have of that, the more power you have to heal it, because you're accepting reality. That in itself is its own type of accountability, its own type of responsibility that helps people heal. All right, so let's get into it. So next, let's go over some of the signs. I'm going to rate each one with a 1 to 5 rating on how worrisome of red flags that they are. 1 being not so worrisome, just mildly, and that there could be a lot of other explanations for that could be perfectly fine. Up to a 5, which is the most worrisome, which means like this is probably like just absolutely red flag. As soon as you see it, yeah, get out of there. There's little room for it being something excusable. All right, so the first one I'm going to use is profile is missing their intention or has all options listed. And I'm going to put that one at a level 2. On most dating apps, there is a section where it says what the person is looking for. Okay, it will say what their intentions are. You fill out your intention, what you're seeking, right? Each app has maybe different language surrounding it. So in that box, there's lots of different options you can put, and you can put multiple. You can just put 1. You can put all of them. You can actually also just hide it from your profile in most cases. If you don't want to come right out and say what you're looking for, if you just want to keep that information off of your profile, you can. So the person that's going to be doing this can actually, unfortunately, have pretty much anything listed there. So some different scenarios are that 1, they could just list all the options. It could say they're looking for a serious relationship, long-term commitment, or casual relationship, open to short-term, or friendship, open to chatting, things like that. All right. So they'll just have it all listed there. So it's very ambiguous. It's very open. And what can you say about that? That person is going to say,
I just like to keep my options open to all possibilities. When I fill out the connection, if a long-term relationship is what we're feeling, I'm open to that.
Most people will not question that. When I was trying out online dating. When I first was looking through people's profiles, I noticed that a lot of people had that. And at first, if anybody had even short-term relationship or casual dating or anything like that listed, even if they also had long-term, I would just instantly swipe left to say no. But then as I kept going, I realized that was a majority of people, at least in the gender that I was dating, which was men. It was left ambiguous. It was left open. Most people. There were very few profiles that I came across that would go right out and say confidently, I am looking for a long-term relationship. I think it says something about someone who is afraid to just list that they're looking for a long-term relationship in the fact that they're probably not as serious about it as they think they are, or as open to it as they think they are. There's also the other possibility that it absolutely is that they just want to remain open-minded. Sure. But that's not all. That's not going to be everybody. And there's way too many profiles like that for that to be all of them. Okay. There's the possibility that this information could just be completely removed from their profile. And I would deem this one just about as concerning or not concerning as the previous one. So whether they completely leave it off or they have every option listed, it pretty much means the same thing. They are not confident enough in the fact that they are looking for something long-term to be able to list that as their only thing that they're seeking. Okay. And when you are out there dating, you have to decide for yourself whether you're okay with that or not, because there's going to be a range of people that are going to fall in that category. A lot of them. It's going to be the majority of people on the site, especially if you are dating men. But there's also going to be a big portion of those people that have just listed everything or listed nothing because they don't want to actually say that they are just seeking to date casually, because they know it will eliminate the people that they want the most, that they find the most attractive, that they are usually the most desiring, which is the people that have a little bit higher of a standard, or the people that are looking for a long-term relationship. And they just don't want to risk filtering out quality matches, people that they would really like, because those people want a long-term relationship. So they'd rather keep it open. Right there in that moment, they're being predatory. Even just by doing that, it's already predatory. You're already doing something intentionally for the purpose of not filtering out people that you know you likely will not be good for, that you know you likely do not have the same intentions about. So you are leaving out information so that those people won't know that. Then there's also just the really blatant one, which is somebody who lists flat out that they are looking for just a long-term relationship or seeking a life partner, and they absolutely are not. And that is just a blatant lie. And they are purposefully doing that because they want people who are very committed, loyal, looking for something serious because they like that thrill. That's how they want it to feel. They want to feel very wanted by somebody, and they want to create that type of a dynamic that they can enjoy temporarily, that they can then mold into a situationship, which is extremely predatory. That's like top tier. Okay. And then also, just want to mention, the other one becomes much more predatory at the point where they are accepting matches with people who have just long-term relationship listed on their profile. So if they have listed all these different options, or they've listed no options at all, and they know that they're leaning more towards like something casual, and they match with someone who it just completely explicitly says long-term relationship, they're being predatory. Now let's just address the case that someone could be very genuinely open to something serious, or think that they were seeking something serious with somebody, and then they changed their mind. Once they met the person, or after getting to know them a little bit, they changed their mind. They don't feel it anymore. It wasn't what they thought it was going to be. This wasn't the one. They genuinely didn't know that. And then they realize that. Okay. What point does that become predatory? The moment that they feel that and they're having those thoughts, if the relationship is to the point where intimacy is occurring. Intimacy is not just physical, but especially if physical, that needs to be communicated with that person when you start feeling it. Because it starts to become predatory the moment you continue to have that feeling and you don't reveal that to that person, and you keep going further and further into the bond without revealing that. So that can happen, and that can be completely innocent. It sucks, but it is the way it is. Like, that's just the gist of dating. Like, you can't really know if someone's going to be the one if you don't try that out. It doesn't even become predatory if you start withholding the information and you pull away from the intimacy, and you maybe like start to kind of distance yourself, and you don't engage anymore, and you withhold the information because you're uncomfortable or afraid to hurt them, but you're not still engaging with them like that, really. You're just kind of dragging it out. That's not predatory. Where it becomes predatory is when you then lie to them, breadcrumb them with the notion still that...
No, it might still be what you think it is. Don't go away.
To keep them around to gain something that you are benefiting from. You're benefiting from their presence, or you're benefiting from the intimacy, usually physical intimacy. If you're still engaging in that, and that's why you're not telling them, a lot of people might convince themselves that,
No, I mean, I'm still doing that, but the reason I'm not telling them is because I don't want to hurt them.
no. Another reason you're not telling them is because you still want to, that is predatory. Absolutely. And some other explanations for this is that some people are afraid to scare people away. They think that if they are too forward about what their intentions are with being serious, that they will scare people away. Okay, so there's a small portion of people like that. There's also the possibility that some people are just lazy and they just don't want to, they just click them all. Okay, it's not that deep. Maybe. All right, but like moving on from that one, another sign that somebody might be intentionally misleading you into a situationship is that there's no immediate urgency to meet up right away. Now, I'm going to rate this one at a number 2. Not that telling, but just something to look into. Sometimes this can be a sign that they are seeing a lot of other people all at once. And so they could just be keeping like a rotation of people. Like this is their own personal rendition secretly of The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, where the contestants don't even know that they're contestants. Sometimes even worse, it's not even that good. It's not even to find a winner. It's just for a spot to fill in their roster. And at this moment, they're just waiting for a spot to open up so they can put you in it. And sometimes that takes time. Okay, so not a good sign. But what other explanations could there be for this? Several. So that's why it's a 2. Because it could just be that they're just a busy person. They may have a very demanding job, a demanding work schedule. They may have kids. They may have hobbies. They may have friends. They may have an active social life. They may just have a lot of things. It could be that they're just not sure how fast these type of things are supposed to go. Maybe they don't think it's taking that long because they don't have a lot of experience with dating and they're just like,
I'm not really sure about how I'm supposed to do this. I don't know how fast it's supposed to happen.
And they aren't doing that on purpose. They're trying not to move too fast. They don't want to scare the person away. Another possibility is this person could just be generally not that great at taking initiative. Maybe they're waiting for a sign from the other person. Maybe they're waiting for the other person to take the initiative. Could be. But think about if you have already taken the initiative and they keep trying to stall or they keep having to reschedule last minute, then it's most likely the red flag. But again, could be that they're just generally a busy person. But if they're rescheduling on you last minute, like multiple times, that's not somebody that's just generally busy. That's somebody that is not planning well. They're juggling many things, likely many people. It's just the way it is. And they're not planning properly. They're not doing a good job at that. So I'd say if that's happening, move on. There's people that you don't have to deal with that with. Okay. Another sign that this could be the case is when they offer very low stakes dates, like directly as the only suggestions. For example, coffee, a walk in the park, ice cream. I'm going to give this one a 1, and here's why. Because it very well could be the red flag, which means it's a sign that someone doesn't want to spend any substantial amount of money on someone that they don't plan on making more than just a hookup after this initial date. But side note to that is that I do see value in this style of dating sometimes because things have changed in the dating world. All right, in modern dating, most people are meeting off of the apps. Therefore, they're missing that organic meeting that happened in the past, usually the first time meeting. That first time meeting, which the apps have taken the place of, would serve as this date typically, where you met that person in person by fate, by accident, by coincidence, out in the world. And so that date was already taken care of. You already saw their mannerisms. You saw them in person. You saw them in their entirety to where you could verify tangibly that, they are that person and that's how they are and you're attracted to them and you want to pursue dating with them. You don't actually know that 100% when we're meeting off of the apps. So it makes sense in a way. It's just a way to meet this person and see if I had run into you organically out on the street, would I have wanted to date you? And you shouldn't have to spend exorbitant amounts of money on people to figure that out first. Fair. There's people that could be catfish. There's people that could be using way too old of photos. Like they're in their 40s, but they're using their pictures from when they were in their 20s, like you don't know that. And there's also people that could just have a demeanor about them or like an aura, like a energy about them that you can't sense from their pictures or from talking to them. When you're around them, you're like,
no, that wouldn't be my cup of tea.
It can seem shallow, but like there can be a way that someone walks or their mannerisms and you're just like,
oh, I'm not attracted to you in your fully live form the way that I thought I was in your picture.
And that's just that. Attraction is very important and it has to be there or you're not going to want to date that person. So I can understand that for that reason. Okay. So in this one, if The person specifically offers dates like this right out the gate, and they like give you a few options, and they're like this, and then they also still want date 2. Like you go on that date with them, and then they still want date 2. Make sure date 2 is something just like a little bit more invested, and then you should be able to knock this one out. But a follow-up that shoots this one up to a level 4 red flag is if on date 2, they just then immediately invite you to their house or suggest that they should go to your house. Done. And please don't let
I want to cook you dinner.
fool you. This is a pretty textbook pattern of a player who was deliberately trying to put on the facade that they are dating you, that they are courting you, but really they're just trying to shift you into a situationship. And what they're doing is they're seeing if they're able to get away with that, and if you go ahead and let them, they don't feel like they're doing anything wrong because they got away with it. They shouldn't have to say what it is or what it isn't. You didn't ask, you're going along with it. But the reason that you would be going along with it is because you think all is well because they dated you. They took you on a date, and now they want to cook for you at the house. But it's not about cooking for you at the house. It's about getting you into their house where they can have a better chance of hooking up with you. And then they're not going to take you out anymore. Promise. It's messed up because if they weren't deliberately trying to mislead you, they would have just said,
Hey, do you just want to come over and watch a movie? Do you just want to come over and hook up? Do you want Netflix and chill?
they would have just said that the first time. Or they would say that this time, not like,
I want to cook for you on our second date.
please. But they can't do that because people who don't want that would be offended by that, right? Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. And then separating that one out kind of on its own leg of being its own sign of that they take you on one date, whatever that one date might be, and then immediately suggest you to come over from that point on. They attempt a home hangout immediately after that. That is by itself just a level 4 sign on the wariness Richter scale. Obviously, this is a low effort, and people who are looking to get into a friends with benefits situation or situationship are usually people that want something that is low effort. And so they're looking to reach that pocket that they want to get you into as quickly as possible without having to like pretend that they're pursuing you for real for too long, because they really can't tolerate doing that for very long. They don't have the stamina to be able to keep up this facade for that long, and they want to eliminate that emotional labor and that facade they're putting on very quickly. Very rarely, this person could still be looking for a long-term relationship. It happens. But the thing is, like, that person's going to be someone who puts in a low effort pretty generally, like in all areas of the relationship. And so even though it might turn into a relationship, it's not going to be one that you're going to really benefit from or enjoy. It's not going to be very reciprocal. It's not going to be something to be proud of. There's also the possibility that they could just generally be a homebody. They just like to be at home. That person is going to be maybe a little more rare, but if so, you'll notice the difference because this person will still put in effort in other ways, even if they are suggesting the dates to be at home. Okay, so they're going to actually cook you a meal. They're going to have something thought out, like games that they wanted to play with you, or they're going to have flowers for you at the house, or they're going to have something set up. They're not going to immediately try to get sexual with you. Even though you're coming to their house, you'll see that it wasn't actually about that. It's going to be very rare. So if you come over, second date, and they just flip through Netflix, they don't really have any food, or they threw something together. If someone's having you over because they said they wanted to cook for you on the second date, it's not going to be some barely thrown together thing. That's ridiculous. Okay, that's the dinner they were going to cook for themselves already, and they're just having you over to hook up. And then they're on you like within 10 minutes flat. You know what they're on. Another really blatant red flag that shows this is what's happening. This is going to be a level 5, and that is they get sexual very quickly. Usually not a lot of exceptions here. If they make subtle sexual innuendo prior to even meeting you or throughout the first date, first time they've met you, yikes. That's a blazing red flag. I mean, that just demonstrates exactly what's running through their mind, exactly what they are seeking, obviously. Now, could this still turn into a long-term relationship, even if they do that, even if they are like that? Yeah, sure, it can. But not likely the kind that you want. Again, because, I mean, you have to think about it like this person doesn't really know you. So that means that they are doing this probably with anybody that they meet, not having to know them. It's just like something they do. They probably hook up often with people that they do not know. You can probably assess that this person does not value sex as something that needs to be between people that have any kind of bond going on. They see it as something very trivial, very surface. They have a disconnection between sex being anything deep. I would think if you are the type of person that is not looking for a situationship and you don't want people to put you into that. You're probably somebody who also values sexual encounters as something a little bit more special, a little bit more sacred. You don't just flippantly do that with anyone, and you don't want to share that with somebody that you don't know like that. This person does, okay, if they do that. If they're making sexual comments before they've even gotten to know you, before you even get through this first date, they're already making comments like that. You can probably assume that that's what they're looking for. There's going to be people that are going to object to this and say, like,
what if they're just really attracted to you and they just like can't help it? Maybe they don't do that with everybody, but you're just so attractive that they like are just feeling fired up and they can't help it. You're mad because they're attracted to you?
No. If someone's really attracted to you, they're going to be sweet. They're going to say,
I really like the way that your mind works. I really like the ideas that you have. You're very impressive. You're very charismatic. Your whole face lights up when you talk. It's very captivating.
They're going to have some intellectualism, some sustenance to what they say, instead of going for the such teenager reaction of like,
I'm so horny.
Like,
I can't control the words that come out of my mouth.
And it really shows that they dehumanize you. They're not looking at you as a human being with value. They are looking at you as something that they really want to use to quell their sexual urges. Yuck. So if you do not want to be that, this is not someone who is right for you, and this is a big red flag. All right. Now, obviously, if they try to have sex with you on date 1, right out the gates, this is pretty cut and dry. Okay. But just understand, this is how this happens. Okay. There will be people who will do this, try to take it there on date 1, and still try to make it seem like they want a long-term relationship with you. Prior to going there, after going there, they will put on the facade. Okay? So you cannot just leave it up to their words. Asking their intentions in that situation is not enough. You're not in the clear just because you asked what they're looking for prior to sleeping with them, and then you slept with them, and now everything should be all good because you verified. You made sure that they wanted something serious, right? And then, okay, cool. So they said yes, so then you proceeded. No, you're not in the clear. That's exactly the type of person that's going to do this. They will lie. You're right there. They want to secure this hookup. It's all they want. They're like ravenous about it at this point. When they first meet you, that's like all that's on their mind. A person like this. They're trying to get you. They want it so bad. They'll never want it again like this. This is the peak moment for them. This is the biggest thing that happens in their relationship lives because they have no depth. So they're going to lie to you. They'll say yes just to sleep with you and then pretend later that actually you two just don't seem as compatible as they thought. It turns out you just really aren't the one. And they didn't know that when they first told you. Sorry, things changed. Yeah. Things did change. They got what they came for, and they got enough of it. And now you're really cramping their style of getting more of that from new people. And you're getting kind of annoying because you are asking them, like,
What are we and what's going on?
like holding them accountable and stuff. 9 times out of 10, that's exactly how something like this is going to go. I guarantee it. You can obviously get intimate with somebody as soon as you are ready. There's no rules about that. And absolutely, sometimes people do hook up right away because they both just feel that spark and it feels right. And they know what they want and they're ready. And then that turns into a long-term relationship that lasts, and it's a beautiful love story. Yeah, I know that happens. I get it. But have you grazed the terrain as of late? Because things have gone awry, sugar pie, okay? They have gone quite a bit awry. There's a lot of predators out on the prairie, okay? More than used to be. You can't just be out here willy-nilly basking in the sun, frolicking around right now, unless you just want your throat ripped out, you know, and like your carcass abandoned. Boom. And like, I really don't care about this, whatever people say on the internet about like
Women produce these certain chemicals when they are being intimate, and that's oxytocin, and that's the bonding chemical, and then men actually produce this other type of chemical, and they don't have it like that.
But they absolutely do produce oxytocin, that's a fact, but they also apparently produce something else that people say, it's like vasopressin or something like that, and it's like not just produced by a hookup, but it's produced once there's an emotional connection that they've developed outside of physical intimacy, I guess. I don't know. There's not enough data to say that is 100% true. We don't know yet. So all I can say is that this is the rule of thumb that goes for any gender, anybody. If you want a very passionate but short-lived physical rendezvous that is centered around physical connection while kind of lacking in an emotional one, then proceed as you please. Do it as soon as you want to. Whatever. Doesn't matter. But if you are looking for love, then it's best that you don't engage in sexual intimacy until you feel a genuine emotional bond between the two of you, and you are certain that other person is also emotionally invested in you beyond the physical. What does that look like? How do you know that someone is emotionally invested in you? Well, they will probably take time out of their day to spend it on you and focus on you without having to be asked to do so. Whether that means texts all throughout the day, calls, FaceTimes, time spent together. They tell you good morning most mornings. They genuinely want to know how you're doing and what you've been up to today. They want to hear about your life. They like hearing your little jokes and your ideas when you come up with them, and they like hearing you talk. They love it. They like your little flirts, your little rants, everything. They just they focus on you. You don't have to hunt them down to do it. You don't have to chase them, and vice versa. You like doing that with them. I know this sounds so simple and basic, but I fear we are honestly really getting away from the basics. People don't know how to do this anymore. They don't know what this looks like. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. It's not a baseline anymore. It's not assumed that these things are going to be happening. People often don't do this, and it's nobody's place to say if it's because people aren't holding people up to that standard, it's not being expected anymore, or if it first wasn't being done anymore. It's they both just happened. Okay, they both fed into each other, and it is prominent in the dating world that these types of things aren't happening. Situationships are happening where you're not expected to do anything. The whole point of it is to have no expectations on you. It's so empty. You know that someone's emotionally invested in you because they put in effort. No one is too busy. I promise you. They're not. If they're too busy to talk to you, at least a little bit, most days, then they are much too busy to date you, and they are much too busy to sleep with you for sure. And they probably aren't that interested in you. They're definitely not emotionally invested in you, and you should not be sleeping with them if you're looking for love. When you like somebody, you want to talk to them. Don't let any idiot out there try to convince you that they do like you. They just don't have any time to spend on you. They just don't have time in their day to send you any text messages. They like you. No, they don't. Don't believe them. They don't. They're keeping you around for when they're able to sleep with you. For sure. Even if it's just little texts throughout the day. Everyone's a little bit different. Some people just prefer phone calls, so then they will do that. Yeah, some people work a strenuous job, so then they'll call you in the evenings. They'll call you on the weekends. They'll call you on their breaks. They'll text you whenever they have a moment, okay? But they're still going to make time for you. I promise you, somebody that wants something and is invested in something, they are going to find the time for that. And don't let anybody try to make you believe otherwise. They won't always be able to find as much time as you maybe want from them, but they can find a little bit of time pretty much every day for something that they really like and really want in their life without being asked, without having to be challenged on that. You shouldn't have to tell somebody that they're not paying attention to you very much at all, they're neglecting you, to get them to want to focus on you. If you're having to do that, they probably are not that interested in you. I am talking to myself, okay? I've been in that situation. It's hard because when someone's telling you one thing, doing another, it's really hard to accept the thing that you don't want to accept, that you don't want it to be, because they're telling you it's not the thing that you don't want it to be, and they're telling you it's the thing that you want it to be. So it's really difficult to get your brain to go ahead and accept that it's actually just what it looks like, because you don't want it to be that, but it is that. And someone that likes you will want to see you. They will want to hear about what's wrong with you. This is a big one. If someone is emotionally invested in you, they will care when something is wrong with you. Right then, at that moment, if something's upsetting you, they will want to know what that is, even if it's about them. They will want to hear you out. They will want to work that out in the moment. They will not run away from that. A person who's emotionally invested in you will care about your feelings, no matter what it means about them or how it involves them. They will care about your feelings. When you tell them that you're upset about something, they're not going to just go to bed. They're not going to run away from that. They're not going to tell you,
Gosh, you're always tripping. You're always making a problem.
No, they're not going to give you some space to get over that. No, they're going to want to know what's wrong, and they're going to want to understand what made you upset, because they're not going to like you being upset, because they care about you. It's very easy. It's very straightforward. If you care about somebody, you don't want them to be upset, period. If you say,
I care about you,
but then you don't care when they're upset, is direct evidence that you don't care. When you're telling them how you feel about something, they will be listening to understand, not just to debate you and tell you why you're wrong about everything that you're feeling. They're going to want to reach solutions with you, not just run away from the problem like it's only yours and just get over it. And they'll be back when you're more pleasant to be around. No.
No.
Someone who's emotionally invested in you is going to want to know you deeply from top to bottom. They will want to see your passions. They will want to know about anything that you love, and they'll want to see you enjoying that and talking about that and understand more about that. They're going to be listening and retaining information about you. And then also, they will share vulnerable things about themselves. But just be very careful with this one, with the type of people that are going to trick you into a situationship, because they are the type of people sometimes that will fake vulnerability to manipulate you. So they may, in the beginning, share lots of seemingly vulnerable things about themselves because they just know to do that. So watch out for that. Don't just jump right at the first sign of vulnerability and be like,
all right, we can take it there now.
see if it keeps going. See if it keeps happening, even past, your first disagreement. If they still are sharing these things, they're still being consistent. If it's these type of people, it won't take them long to falter. So just hold out. Don't let them in your pants too quickly. It's really important. This is the best way to avoid getting tricked this way, is to wait for physical intimacy. Pretty much weeds them out 100%. Another way to see if they're emotionally invested in you is you'll see that they'll want you to come to events with them that they once went to on their own. They'll want to bring you. They'll want your company. They'll want your attention. They'll want all of that. They'll want to show you off. So unless all of those things are happening, you could probably guess that they're not very emotionally invested. They're not emotionally attached to you. There's no emotional connection. And until that exists, I would strongly advise you refrain from physical intimacy. All right, another sign. It's a big one. This is a level 5 again. And this is just general ambiguity surrounding the relationship, the connection, what they're looking for, all of that. So if it comes to the point that there should definitely be a conversation that's very direct about this, that you ask them flat out what they're looking for.
What are you out here dating for? What are we doing this for? What's your take on it?
And their answer is not a very straightforward.
I'm looking for a long-term relationship. I am looking for a committed relationship.
If it's not that, if they say some bullshit like,
well, if all things, go well, and I hope to someday make something last long-term.
no, red flag. Just clarify.
Are you dating for situationships or commitment?
That's a very easy question to answer. It's very straightforward, okay? And if they answer that with a,
well, I can't really say for sure right now, like blah, 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 blah.
yes, they can. They can say for sure what they're hoping for, what their intentions are. And maybe their intentions are that they want to see where that goes. And I would suggest that if you don't want to be in a situationship, you don't stick around for that. Now, sometimes you'll ask somebody this question and they will either give you an answer that's maybe pretty ambiguous, but like, it seemed like they were saying that they wanted a relationship, or like, it seemed like the right thing. They said like,
I'm hoping to find the full package.
Something like that. And let's say they said something that was enough for you. You guys proceeded. It got a little more serious because you've now been physically intimate. Okay. And then once the time period comes and passes where you would have thought that a commitment would have been made, but it hasn't yet. And then you are forced to have the, what are we conversation, or some version of that, which is just terrible. If they say anything like,
well, I think that we should just take our time getting to know each other first, or just see where it goes organically, or we shouldn't rush it because what if we find out that we aren't compatible and then we just jumped into a relationship? That's not a good idea. That's not a good way to go about it. We should just take our time. We should just go with the flow.
or they say,
I really don't believe in putting a label on things.
why is that? Why wouldn't someone want to put a label on something? Probably because they associate responsibilities with that label. Probably because they associate a loss of something else, a loss of other freedoms or access to other things with that label, right? And so if then they don't like to put a label on things like that, it's probably because they don't want those responsibilities and they don't want to lose access to those other things, because that's what a label does. So you can go ahead and be certain that if they aren't already seeing other people and dating other people, that they are actually just very open to it, and they are not very open to solidifying that won't be happening anymore currently. That is what they are doing. That is why they do not want a label. There's not a lot of other reasons. And even if they give you some, no. Sometimes people try to say that it's because they're not where they want to be in life yet. They need to get more established and they just don't want to put a label on things yet. Okay. Well, when you put your stuff in a storage unit temporarily because you're not ready to move into a larger house where you're trying to get to, do you label your storage unit? Do you put your name down with the storage unit company and make sure that it's named as yours to keep it there? Or do you just say,
I don't want to really put a label on that stuff yet because I'm not where I want to be at in my new house. So just you just leave it unlabeled. If anybody comes by and tries to claim it, that might happen, but Just leave it unlabeled.
Not if you get about that stuff. You sure don't. Ding ding. They'll just leave it unlabeled, and whenever they want something out of there, they can just go by there and get it. Hopefully it's still there. If not, sucks, but like they're not enough to put a label on it. Hell no, they are labeling that stuff if they care at all about it. If it matters to them, they're putting a label on it. They want to keep it protected. It matters to them. And so if they don't want to put a label, you don't. Apparently. Now, there's this new phenomenon happening where people create circumvented titles for things to directly avoid commitment, where it's like some stem off of commitment that is like more comfortable for them, which is exactly already what a situationship is. It's just like a newly determined form of a relationship that just avoids the part that people not healed. They're afraid of commitment and vulnerability, so they find a way to get like prize the thing that the good reasons for having relationships are, and they still want to be able to partake in those things without doing the work, without doing the thing that they don't like, which is the trade-off, which is why it's valuable in the first place. That's the whole point of it. You can't have the reward without the work. Hello. It goes together. It's what makes it valuable. It's what makes it worth it. It's what makes you worthy of it. It's all of that. But people just want to...
Nah, I'll just take this easier route. I'd rather not do all that part that like benefits you, but I just want to like only get the part that benefits me.
And it's gross. We've determined so many stages of getting into relationships just as a side effect of people just being afraid of commitment. We created this talking stage. We redefined what all these things mean. And so there's something that people are using now that's like prior to making a commitment, but still recognizing that there needs to be a level of safety involved and you need to feel secure in that. So we use the term exclusivity. So there's like a bunch of people that are in this situationship world lately that are not quite making a commitment, but they say,
but we are exclusive.
And I think this is so ridiculous. It's preposterous, okay? Don't let anyone tell you that they are going to be exclusive with you when they weren't ready to make a commitment to you. Because being exclusive with you is making a commitment to you. That's exactly what it is. So whatever they're looking at as like what a commitment is, and they're putting all these dubs on it, exclusivity is a commitment. You're committing to only sleeping with that person and only dating that person. It is a commitment. So you're just avoiding the label. You're just making a new word for the same thing. But people are doing this. But it's necessary, right? Because if you are out there and you are hooking up with someone, you are putting yourself at risk for actual bodily harm, okay? Because you could be opening yourself up to a risk of STDs, STIs, and that's scary. How can you go about dating casually without being involved in the conversation of,
who are we sleeping with? Because when I'm sleeping with you, I need to know who else you are sleeping with, because I am putting myself in harm's way.
Even if you use protection all the time, and especially if you don't. How could you even get by without talking about that if you don't use it? Don't just assume, just because you're not sleeping with anyone else, that they are not. If you have not had a conversation, that's a very bad idea. But because that is important and because that is necessary, people have invented this thing of like, I'm going to say we need to take our time about commitment, but
are we exclusive?
And then that person will look you dead in your face and they will say,
yeah, we're exclusive.
It is a lie. It's a lie. And let me tell you why. Maybe sometimes that's not a lie, but I would bet my last dollar each time that it is. Anyone who will avoid commitment with you, but will still tell you that you're exclusive, is lying to your face or plans to lie to you by omission. And this is how it's going to happen. They can say yes to exclusivity in that moment because they don't think they're lying in that specific moment. They will say,
I'm only pursuing you.
And then just leave off the part about
right now.
But guess what? The moment that something else arises for them, and I mean by arises, I mean while they are actively still out there pursuing it, and someone says yes, or they lock it down, they're able to get the deal done. Their exclusivity with you is not a commitment. They are not going to see that as,
I can't break my exclusivity.
They're going to break it, and they're not going to tell you before they do so. Promise you. And they might tell you after, or what's more likely is that they are going to find themselves already in the midst of doing that, and they're going to justify it in their mind as,
well, I'm not cheating because I'm not committed to them.
They're going to feel controlled. They're going to feel like
I don't owe them an explanation because I'm not committed to them.
They're always going to see it as the very thing that they were avoiding, which is the commitment, and the reason that they were avoiding it is because they don't want to feel controlled. They don't want to be blocked from being able to still hook up with other people. So when that arises, they are not going to see exclusivity, this little word that has been put in place of it. They're not going to see that as something that keeps them from doing that. They're just going to lie. They're going to feel like they have the right to lie to you. They have the right to lie to you because you are not their partner. Exclusivity be damned, I assure you. And then they're going to start kind of distancing themselves from you. They're going to start breadcrumbing you. Everything but just tell you the freaking truth. So when someone tells you that they don't want to commit to you yet, but they agree to exclusivity, what they mean is that they're exclusive with you in this moment until they're not. And they're not going to tell you when that happens. So basically, just understand that you're getting nothing. You're getting no kind of guarantee, and it means nothing. And again here, I really want to differentiate between like the casualties of dating and this, what I'm calling predatory, because that's just the way it goes. That is what it is in love and war. Sometimes you're not the one. Sometimes people change their mind. Sometimes people are dating and then they meet somebody else and that's who they want to date instead, or they just don't want to date you anymore, and that's just the way it is. So if somebody pulls away and they're not still engaging with you, they're not still giving you hope, they're not still telling you that they do care about you and there's nothing going on, no, you're wrong about that, and then still seeking you for physical intimacy or some other type of gain, then this is not predatory. Somebody just broke your heart, pulled away, maybe didn't give you the full explanation, maybe ghosted you. Those things are not nice, but they're not predatory. The predatory part is misleading somebody, keeping them hanging on for your own benefit because you're a greedy, selfish jerk, and you should really get some help. Stop hurting people like this because it's very devastating to do to someone. Now, this is the time period where being in an unknown, undefined, misleading situationship with somebody like this gets dangerous in a very tangible way. Like I said, this person is likely, or could be very well, exposing you to STDs, STIs, life-threatening ones at times. There's some that are curable and there's some that are not. There are some that will cause repetitive symptoms for the rest of your life or kill you. It's not something to play with. It's actually against the law in most places to be fully aware that you have a disease and actively do the action that spreads it without first revealing it to the person that you're going to engage with like that so that they can have an informed consent. That's also predatory. That part, that's predatory. So if someone in a situationship that you didn't mean to be in because they thought they led you to believe that you were exclusive ends up giving you an STD, that is predatory. Absolutely predatory behavior on level 10. But here's what I want you to understand. Even if they don't give you one, you get out scot-free on that pasture, okay? Just the simple fact that they even exposed you to that is so careless. It's still the action that could have led to that. They had no way of knowing how it was going to turn out. They still did that. You just got lucky. Still predatory. Now, something I want to say about this that should just really cause you to take pause with people like this and what their thinking process has to be. You have to assess the type of person that thinks this way. If that's the way that you engage, like if when you do that special act with somebody, it means a lot to you, then it's hard to understand that it doesn't to somebody else. And I would say with this specifically, due to the biology of how we are made and what that act is meant to be for, and even though there's casual situations where people want to just make it into this thing that doesn't have any strings attached to it and it's just
My body enjoying itself.
sexual encounters in all types of healthy, physically healthy, mentally healthy people drum up an emotional reaction and facilitate automatic bonding feelings. We know that oxytocin is released during physical intimacy in all genders. We know that is a fact. To what level, to whatever, we don't know. But we know that is a fact. Okay, so it is preposterous. You may want it to be this way. You may be someone that wants it to be like,
I'm sexually free and I can do it, no strings attached. And it doesn't have to mean that, and that's my right.
fine, but you can't deny. That is an active fight against biology that you're doing. You are defying biology because you choose to live that way. But you can't deny that that's out of the norm. That's out of the automatic process that takes place in human beings. So when somebody can be that intimate with you and then say,
I don't think that we should jump right into a commitment. I think that we need to take our time and get to know each other before we commit to something like that. That's a big deal.
but they did not think that it was a big deal to do the most intimate act that is possible between two human beings. They did not think that they needed to take their time to get to know you to do that. That probably should have been a pretty significant big red flag, right?
I don't need to take my time getting to know you to be as closely intimate with your body as humanly possible, but to give you any type of security, safety, or commitment, we gotta really pump the brakes, take our time. but I still want to keep doing that thing.
Probably means that that's how they view intimacy. Probably means that it doesn't take a lot for them to engage that way with pretty much just about anybody. They don't have to have taken their time to get to know much or feel much about that person to do that. And that's a harsh thing to face if you've already gone that far. Sucks. Okay? That you live and you learn. Don't make assumptions. It's too high of stakes to be making assumptions. Don't make assumptions that somebody will be exclusive with you just because they say that. Don't make assumptions that because you assume that somebody would never put someone in such harm's way, so they can't possibly be just like sleeping around when they go ahead and sleep with you without protection. That must mean that they're only sleeping with you, because who would do that? Well, let me tell you, they will do that. You are making an incorrect assumption to think that they will be caring about your safety in the slightest. They don't care about their own. They are not worried about it. That's very terrifying. Do not assume. Do not take people's word. Protect yourself. People are out here right now in these treacherous modern times being all kinds of not exclusive. Okay? Being all kinds of not safe. Being all kinds of not considerate of other people. They're just not. People just, I don't know what it's come to. But there are not a lot of precautions being taken. Red flag, level 5, peep it, and get on out of there. Now, another one. This is still talking about the same part. Okay, so if they hook up with you, you go ahead and you give in whatever part of the situationship it happens in. You go ahead and cross that bridge with them. And then they switch up their effort, their availability, their demeanor towards you. That's going to be a level 5 red flag. That's what they were after. And then now they want to make you a situationship without your explicit consent, basically. So this looks like they used to be texting back every couple of hours. There was good morning every morning. All the things we talked about, a lot of those things were being shown. They were being displayed. You saw it. You saw all of it happening. So you were like, okay. And you made the mistake of, before having the commitment, you went ahead and moved forward with the physical because the actions were there. You thought they're calling you, talking to you for hours at times. They're staying up late to have conversations with you. They seem so interested in everything you have to say. They thoroughly respond back to your text messages, every part of them. They don't skip any parts. They're very attentive to you. They're very flirty with you in a really sweet way. They make time to see you every week or twice a week or even more. They're making plans. They're putting in the effort to do that. They do sweet little things for you. Then right after you guys hook up, maybe not the first time if they're good at this, they'll know that that's an obvious dead giveaway. And maybe they're the type that they're still kind of like enjoying it for the moment. They might not do that after the very first time, so that's why it throws you off. They just like slowly retreat a little bit of that effort, a little bit of that availability. Just very small increments they do this, and that's really hard to notice until it gets really low, and then you're like,
Wait, what happened here?
all of a sudden you're like,
Okay, this has changed a lot.
you don't see it the whole time it's happening, but suddenly you realize that they're taking very extended amounts of time to respond to every text, and that their text responses are getting much shorter. Like you've waited 8 hours for a response and their response is 2 short words. That is just giving you the most lowest effort response possible while still responding. They stop making plans with you except for to invite you over directly right before they want you to come over, or the day of, and then sometimes it shifts because suddenly they can't do it anymore. It's a really bad sign, because that really demonstrates a couple of things. It demonstrates, one, they're no longer valuing your time or any consideration for you. They're literally serving themselves because they are waiting till the day of because they want to see what's going on for them. And they are likely making plans with multiple people or seeing who's available. And then out of the group of people that is available, they are then choosing one, and it may not be you. And then they are letting you know that last minute, regardless of if you started getting ready. They don't care, because it's only on their time. It's only about them. They're not even considering you. They don't care. If you try to hit them up spontaneously and say,
Hey, do you want to hang out tonight?
it's always a no. Because if they wanted to, they would have hit you up and said that to you for that night. But then like anytime they're doing it to you, because it's getting more sparing that they're even having time, it's going to have this effect of where you're saying yes most of the time to that. But then as soon as you want to see them, you want to spend time with them, they can't be bothered because you weren't on their mind that night, or they would have hit you up. It's very selfish. You'll start to see it. They might start having you over only in very short windows of time. Like they invite you late at night, and it's only on a day when they have work really early because they only want you for one thing. Another indication is they start getting a little bit rude with you. They stop being the dynamic, layered, cool person that you got to know. They stop being this bright light. They stop being the same energy that they had at the beginning that was fun to be around. They stop feeling like a friend or a buddy. They feel like somebody that doesn't actually like you. They're short with you. They seem annoyed with you. If somebody is having you over and they are wanting to sleep with you, they are wanting to get intimate with your body, but They treat you like you are really getting on their nerves. Get away from this person. Get away from them because they don't like you, babe.
Wow.
They don't like you. They are using you. They don't see you as a person. They see you as a commodity, and they want you to be accommodating. And you having anything to say, you having anything that you want to share with them, you having any sort of autonomy or any other idea about what you want to do with yourself or what the hell you want to talk about is very inconvenient for them. To have you be very simple and very peaceful. And they might say stupid things to you like,
I just need you to be my peace. This is why I don't do relationships, because it always gets like this. I just need you to be my peace. You know how much I work. You know what I do. I have a lot on my plate, and it's really inconsiderate of you to not think about the fact that I need things peaceful.
Meanwhile, you didn't do shit wrong. That's a very entitled person. Get away from them. They're lame. They're so self-focused. What do you mean? A really good indication of this, like hands down across the board, definite 5, is if when you push harder on this and you insist you're seeing what you are seeing and that it is noticeable and it's an obvious change. And then they respond to that with any behaviors such as gaslighting you, deflecting, or blame shifting. So if they start to accuse your reactions as the problem, they eventually move from denying that it's even happening, that they've pulled away or that they've changed in any way. They suddenly move to,
well, I'm actually pulling away because this is how you act.
They definitely did this to you on purpose. They definitely have been predatory against you. I don't think there's any outliers on that one. That is straightforward. If they start doing that, they make your reaction the initial problem, which makes no sense. You know it doesn't. So don't gaslight yourself, okay? Because don't let someone do that to you. People will do it. They will try to say that your reactions are actually the problem when the problem started that inspired your reactions. That is not possible. So you can fold that up and toss it, okay? But I'm going to move on to the next part. I think you understand the signs now. Now I want to discuss who is at fault for this, because people really like to get confused on who is going to be at fault and who they want to put all that blame and shame on. And it tends to oddly go towards the person that was being treated badly. And I've studied that for quite a while, and I understand the psychology behind why that happens, but I fiercely reject it and think that society needs to understand how damaging that is and how it perpetuates the exact problems that we don't want to continue. So should probably wake up about why that's not a good thing to do. Fault. Who's at fault here? Who's to blame? And so I want to make a clear differentiation between fault and blame and say the burden of safety responsibility. When something is the direct outcome, cause and effect of a person choosing to use another person, lie to someone, mislead someone, disregard someone's feelings while doing something that person knew was going to hurt that other person, betray someone, anything that just directly harms another individual or neglects to care about the very obvious harm that would be inflicted on someone else while in pursuit of their own selfish desires, then no matter how obvious it was to whoever, no matter how many times it had happened, no matter how naive the person that had it done to them might have been, how trusting they were, how forgiving they were, it does not matter for this point. Those actions that harm would never exist were it not for that individual perpetrating that harm. Because that victim or that person that had it done to them, they could have gotten out of that situation in some way. Maybe they made a different choice. Maybe they decided to exit sooner. It would still happen. It would just happen to a different person. So therefore, that person perpetrating the action is 100% at fault and to blame. Now, what the victim has, or the person being misled, is not a portion of the fault or the blame. And I wouldn't even call it accountability, because even though it is a type of an accountability, that just gets a little too sticky, sounding like they need to own part of the blame or the fault. But what the victim actually has is a vigilance tax, something that Fiona Vera Gray, a leader in the feminist movement, coined as the term safety work. And so something that falls into this category, just to demonstrate it, is how still many years before I was ever old enough to drive a car, and I'd say before I could even really process why I was doing this fully, I had house keys, and I surely did know very well how to create a makeshift Wolverine hand with my keys anytime I needed to walk any stretch of land out to save the car, whoever's car I was going to, my parents, a friend of mine in a parking lot, or any stretch of street sidewalk that I might have been walking at night by myself. Definitely knew how to make my Wolverine hand. And that is where you take your keys, every woman knows this, and you put the keys in between your fingers so that you have, I don't know, I don't know what they really expect us to do with that. I guess we're supposed to stab a perpetrator with our keys when we punch them with our makeshift Wolverine hand. We all do it. You learn it very young. It's like passed down. I don't know. Ask any woman. Another example of safety work is going to be all of the advice that I have strewn throughout this video to help someone protect themselves from falling into a situation like this that was being pressed upon them by misleading them. That's safety work. That is an unfortunate burden, an unfortunate responsibility that you must take on if you do not want to find yourself in these situations. This is what gets conflated. It doesn't mean that if someone doesn't do that or doesn't know to do that, that they are now to blame. And while it might be perfectly true that someone didn't take those precautions and you wish that they did, and it might be perfectly true that they probably should have, still really freaking weird that that's what someone would focus on when they hear that somebody had something so hurtful, harmful, and predatory happen to them. Weird that you're focusing on that rather than that's terrible, rather than we need to focus on perpetrators. We need to teach people better about why you don't treat people that way. Really weird that your focus is on the person who it happened to, especially since it already happened. So why are you talking about the preemptive measures that they could have taken? Pretty sure, I'm actually certain you can take this to heart. They already have thought about that quite enough. That's the number one thing running through their mind that they're beating themselves up with very harshly. They don't need you to say it to. They don't need you to say it at all. It's not useful. It's not helpful. It actually harms more. So that's really important. People conflate the fact that someone could have maybe been in a less threatening situation where something bad happened to them by taking different precautions with that meaning that they now do not deserve empathy. They now don't deserve any of that support or anybody's sympathy towards what happened to them because they were somehow to blame for that happening. They're not. People should really get that straight. It's really annoying. Now, who does this harm? Definitely the person who it is done to. It harms them significantly. It's going to last into future relationships. It's almost certainly going to have a traumatic impact to be fooled in such a vulnerable way, intimate way. And then the side effects of that. This is how it works. If you are someone that's out there breeding this into the dating pool, breeding this into society, then you are also going to be someone who experiences the consequences of that terrain as you continue on through dating. Because I can promise you that the same people that have misled are also going to be people that are eventually meeting people that they do want to take a little bit more seriously, whatever parameters they decide by where they want to treat someone a little bit better than they treated that person. And they're going to encounter women who have encountered men like them, who have been misled, who have been lied to, who have experienced that climate in dating, and are going to then give them a harder time with gaining their trust. And it more than likely will not work out because of that, because of the pain and the trauma that's inflicted by those actions. So basically, in a roundabout way, by sowing that seed into social situations as a man or a woman, either way, you're going to eventually feel the effects of that. You might not be the man that has to deal with that woman, but another man will. But you will encounter it with a different woman. Because at this point in society, it's so rampant, it's almost unheard of that at the time when people get to the age where they're looking to actually be serious and settle down nowadays, which is a lot later than ever before, they have experienced something like this, or they have been the perpetrator often of something like this, and they are making that change. It's just that they've been part of that problem. They have been part of harming society this way, people this way, and now they are going to experience the consequences of that firsthand. It's just the way the world works. It's not this flowery belief in karma or anything. It's just obvious that that's going to be what's going to happen. Could they possibly get lucky and experience some person that's never been through any type of trauma like that? Maybe. It's getting real unlikely these days. Additionally, a lot of times they're going to have children, usually children that are going to be the product of a broken home, because they are not likely with if they're out dating, they're not likely with the mother or father of those children. okay? And children don't have to be told that something is a up dynamic. They don't have to be explained how something is happening. They don't even have to witness all of it, really. They're going to be around for the energies. They're going to see what's missing. They're going to see how their mother or father behaved, how women were treated by their father or how men were treated by their mother. They're going to pick up on this, whether that person who's being predatory, whether they pick up on this or not. Those children are going to develop one of two ways. They're going to emulate that treatment. They're going to treat others that way and think that that's the way they're supposed to. Or they're going to take on the opposite approach where they feel like they have to protect against that happening to them. That child might become hyper vigilant in protecting against it or preemptive in hoping for it not to happen, which we, I think, know by now pretty standard is anything that you're really hyper vigilant against. It's the very thing that you end up encountering a lot. Okay, so then this is just going to continue generationally. So even if this person doesn't get harmed by it, the predatory person doesn't get harmed directly, they will then watch their children in some way, shape, or form, whether it's their children's partners or their grandchildren, get harmed this way. In some way, they're going to see the consequences of this harm, whether impacting themselves or impacting someone else that they care about at some point along the lines. And they will have to live with the fact that they were a contributor. They were a massive contributor to that harm. I would think that would be a very good reason not to treat people that way. Even if you can't find it in your soul to care about the person that you harmed, I would think that knowledge would be enough to realize you should probably not do that to people. It's really tragic to think about it from really any perspective. But if you just think about it this way, I think it's really easy to see. There's a lot of men who have, at least on some level, this notion that when a woman sleeps with a man, she reduces her value each time. So each new number that body count increases, she's diminishing her value as a woman. We wouldn't say the same thing about a man. In fact, a lot of people perceive it as a man's value goes up with the more women that he has slept with. Okay, so that's just a basic thing. That's tales all this time. We know that stigma is there, that double standard exists, okay? But if you perpetuate that double standard and you continue to subconsciously or consciously think that way, or you just think,
that's just the way it is, I can't help it, that's just reality.
And so you use that to justify that you still think that way, then obviously, if you are going into situations where you are misleading a woman into thinking that this is going to be at least an attempt at a serious relationship when you know very damn well that you don't have any intentions of making it that way, and you're not going to stop dating other people, but you're just going to lie about it. And then on the first date or second date, when she kind of resists your advances, but you keep pushing, there's a really fine line that we walk there, where a woman might say no many times, or she might, prior to the first date or the second date, have already told you that she doesn't do that she doesn't want to do that she doesn't sleep with someone on the first date, she doesn't sleep with anyone outside of a commitment. She might have told you these things, and then you still press for it. You still attempt it. You still initiate it to see if you can get her to do it. And she hesitates, and she might push you off a few times. I'm not saying that that qualifies as the definition of SA, or that's illegal, that it's prosecutable, anything like that. Because consent was eventually given. We live with that. That's the way it is. It's still predatory. And also, just on top of that, so imagine you are a woman out here, like I said, braving this terrain of dating, okay? And the very same people that you are supposed to be skimming through for love and supposed to find your protector, your soulmate, your love, in this pool of people, where also could exist your abuser, where also could exist a perpetrator of violence on you, someone who's preying upon you all over the place in that same group, okay? And then you know that you're going to encounter men who believe that you devalue yourself every time you sleep with a new man. Yet they are also the same men who are trying to coerce you into sleeping with them, even though you've said that you don't do that without a commitment, and you know you don't want a commitment with this woman, but you still make it seem like that so that you can press her boundary and sleep with her. But you believe that every time she sleeps with a new man, including you, devalues her. So you are purposefully pushing and misleading her into participating in an act with you that you believe, by your own definition and your own beliefs, will reduce her value. And you think that you can argue that that's not predatory. Actually, any woman that you engage in sexual intimacy with, when you hold that belief as a man, you're always being predatory from that day on. If you don't intend on making that woman your wife or your partner, I think it's very easy to see why that is predatory. All right, so to draw this one to a close, I just want to give you a brief summary of how to protect yourself from having this happen to you, because you can't prevent it in all situations. There's going to be people that will be good at fooling other people, and that's just something that we live with, okay? But there's ways you can prevent this from happening, mostly. And it's okay. Sometimes we slip up. I get it. Just remember that it's never your fault because you decided to trust someone who you felt was trustworthy, and they ended up breaking your trust and betraying you. It might hurt, but it's not your fault. Here's some ways that you can try to prevent it, okay? You need to get a clear picture of what your boundaries are in relationships and in early dating, and learn to vet people on the forefront. Okay, so I like to think of my red flags in categories of 3. There's level 1, negotiations and accommodations are welcome. So there might be some that I'm like,
I don't really like this. I don't really want to put up with this, but if someone feels differently about it, it's open for discussion. I'm willing to compromise, listen to what they think about it, and maybe reevaluate the way I think about it, and like find something that works for both of us.
It'll be a work in progress. That's one type of red flag. Okay, there's level 2, which is firm, but I'm willing to give you some time to work on it. Okay, I'm going to think in my mind about how long I'm going to be willing to give grace for this, and I need to be seeing an improvement, an active improvement on it. The needle needs to be moving, and if it's not doing that, done. We're done. Okay, and then there's level 3, which is a one and done. You do this, we're done. So you need to get really clear on what those things are, and then make sure that you stick to them, and that you're very vocal about it. So the first time you see that red flag, you don't like something, you need to speak up. Do not be afraid of speaking up. Don't be afraid of losing someone. Don't be afraid of pushing someone away. You need to be you, and you need to voice your concerns. If someone isn't able to handle that, when you're doing it politely and you're doing it respectfully and you've learned all the healthy ways to do that, that's not the person for you. Done. Okay? Some of the red flags that you can look for, or you can have some boundaries to prevent this particular thing from happening. You getting fooled into a situationship that you didn't want. 1, no home dates with someone that you're not serious with. So maybe not waiting until you made the official commitment, but until you can be certain that this is someone that you have a serious relationship with. You know that it's something that is definitely going somewhere, which I would say wait for the commitment. The very surefire way you can prevent this as a woman is by not sleeping with people who are not a committed partner. Okay. I mean, that's going to pretty much negate this from being able to happen, because if they are a committed partner, then it's obviously not a situationship. Okay. So the typical reason that they're doing this, where they're making you think that they want to be in a committed relationship, but they actually just are moving you into a situationship, is because they want to sleep with you and they want to keep being able to sleep with other people. Okay. So if you do not sleep with them, then that won't happen. But I am so very aware of the nuance of these things, and how it's easier said than done, and how much pressure can be put on, and how much, I mean, people tend to act like even people who have boundaries about sexual intimacy don't have sexual urges. Sometimes that person has needs too. It's really hard. If you really are liking somebody, it's hard for you to just like wait for that. Sometimes it's difficult to have that discipline. So people slip up. Okay. So I'm saying it happens, but try. I mean, if they want to sleep with you so bad, you know how Beyonce said,
If you like a thing, you better put a ring on it.
you're not even asking that. It's not that much to ask. It seems so crazy. It seems like almost like I'm like tiptoeing around it, but like, no, that's just how modern day has made us feel lately. It's gotten so much worse. It actually improved in the past. And then it just like went left at some point. That's how I feel. I don't know if that's everyone's experience, but yeah. I want to say also with this one, any pressure, despite you being very clear about your boundaries, pressuring you and them trying to still initiate that with you when you've said no, and you've already told them that you don't want to do that prior to whatever, that's a level 3 boundary. That's a level 3 red flag. That's a one and done. And that person is definitely trying to coerce you into something. And it's just also very rude and violating to do that. Don't accept low effort. It's another rule. If somebody is giving you a low effort, they're not making an effort to talk to you pretty regularly, they're making excuses for why they don't like really talk on the phone, and they're just like,
oh, I'll just see you in person.
They're probably all about the physical, and this is probably what they're doing. So just end it. If they don't want to put in the effort, they don't deserve you. If you want to treat this one like a level 2, you can, but I would make it a very short-lived one. Okay, so like
Hey, I kind of need it to be more like this. I like to talk to somebody pretty regularly. I'm going to show a lot of effort in getting to know you, so I kind of want my person that I'm talking to be the same. Is that something that you're, like, is there just something going on right now? Am I looking at the situation wrong? Let's hold up.
And if that doesn't turn right around, done. Okay? Don't let somebody convince you that they don't have the time and that you're being too much. Also with this one, if you slip up and intimacy does occur before the commitment, not good, but like if they then switch up with their effort, their availability, and they start giving a lot of excuses and kind of avoiding you, yeah, that's going to be, just like I said, a short-lived level 2. Address it. Be like,
I noticed this. What's that about?
if they just make excuses or deny that it's happening and then they don't show any improvement immediately, done. Okay? Immediately they need to improve it, or it's a one and done. Okay? It's not acceptable. It's a very obvious indication that they were just looking for that. And then, if you walk away, and I'm certain they are going to try to get you back at some point, they're going to try to reach back out, but what you need to do is not accept anything less than a full-on, thought-out apology and some type of effort to show you why it's going to be different now, and how they understood exactly what went wrong and how they now know what to do differently without you having to lay it out for them. Chances of that happening are very slim, so if that does happen, sure, give it another chance. But if they do that shit again, block them, and you're never will they ever have access to you again, and you need to stand firmly in that. Okay? That's their problem. They need to learn, and it won't be with another chance with you. And don't accept people that are avoiding commitment. If someone's being ambiguous with questions that are very direct about what they're looking for or what are we doing here, especially if it's been months that you've been seeing each other and they try to give you some talk about,
I just think we should take our time getting to know each other.
But I know you well enough.
if they say they want to take their time getting to know you and it's been plenty of time, you can say,
Okay, I gotcha. So we're just going to continue our dating lives. And I guess we'll let each other know if we meet somebody else that it's getting serious with then in that case, right?
that should do the trick. I mean, either they're going to say,
Yeah, okay, cool.
and then go do that. Go start dating again because that's not your person. Or they're going to be
Like, wait, no, I don't want you to be dating other people.
That's weird because you said basically just that you don't want to be serious with me.
and then you're probably going to get a little bit of a back and forth. And then hopefully they are going to realize why that's stupid and that you can continue to get to know each other while you are together. Because, hello, how old are we at this point? That's how relationships work. You see if you're compatible on a front end. After a few months, people should be moving towards a commitment. And if you're not, you should be moving outwards. Get a move on. Don't let them play with your mind and keep you emotionally committed while they are not. While they are doing other things. Behind your back. Not having to feel guilty about it because you're not their girlfriend. You're not their boyfriend. It's mad. All right. This is me personally. I don't accept avoidant attachment because the behaviors that are involved in it are not conducive to a relationship. This includes poor conflict resolution skills such as stonewalling, dismissing my feelings, fleeing the situation, appeasing with no follow-through, defensiveness, shutting down, bulldozing, which means like they just talk. Whenever you're trying to tell them something, they just talk over you, interrupt, blah, blah, blah. Bulldoze, sabotage the conversation. Deflecting, like they're like distracting you with other things when you're trying to have a conversation with them, okay? This is a level 2 red flag. I'm not going to put up with it for too long. I will address it. I will let them know about avoidant attachment. If they don't want to hear it, they don't want to learn about it, and they don't want to improve it, bye. I promise you it's not worth your time or your stress. It's not. I swear to you don't want to do it. All right? And then lastly would be like someone showing low empathy, entitlement, arrogance. If they don't listen to understand, they are listening to be able to debate you and tell you why you're wrong. No. If they cannot be wrong, like they literally can't stand to be wrong, they will end conversations because they don't want to hear your point, because they don't want to argue, because they think that you should just agree to disagree, and they'd rather do that than risk having to hear your point and it being smart and better than theirs and realizing that you're right. I don't have any time for immature people like that and people that need growth. Like, go do that growth on your own, or don't, but I don't have time for it. There's someone who can't take accountability for anything, or who would rather just like stonewall you and go away until you get over something so that they don't have to deal with it. No, grow up. They don't bother to hear things out and really assess things, look at biases and look at their own like self-reflection. If someone's not good at doing that, doesn't have that ability, has not practiced that, I don't want any part of it. Someone who treats my feelings and my concerns like they are burdensome, absolutely not, sir. Or like avoids and puts me off whenever I want to talk or I'm upset. Invalidates my feelings, shows no regard when I share something very vulnerable or I am emotional. I'm maybe tears or just upset. Someone who complains about their own needs being infringed upon because of me sharing my feelings about something that they've done to offend me. Like they need to get sleep and they have work. I just try to chill. Sir, acting like you're 12 years old. Like these ones are going to be one and dones or very short level 2. The way that you prevent this in the front is by vetting people out in the front end, not letting people walk all over you, not letting people do things and get away with things that make you feel disrespected. And to be able to do this, you have to be able to look at any person as someone you may want things to work out with, but you would never sacrifice yourself to make things work with that person. So be willing to always lose somebody. You have to be willing to lose them, not because you're going to treat them bad, but because they aren't willing to step up to the plate. Please don't let people get away with taking some very special things and getting to partake in that with you. Your presence, your laughter, your sense of humor, the time that you share with people. Those are special things. You are great. Don't let people get away with stealing those things away. Your physical comforts too. When they don't even like you, when they don't even respect you, when they don't even deserve that. Those are the things that will crush your soul over time, okay? Follow these standards and it should be okay. I'm sorry to anybody out there who has had someone be predatory towards them in this way and had them probably minimize the impact of that. And just know I see you. And we're all going to be okay. Thank you for coming. I love you. See you soon. Bye.